Welcome back to Any Given Monday. Lanto Griffin off. I mean, one of the most important weeks of your career, I would assume. Lanto.
Yeah, there's been thinking back, I thought about that a little bit this week, but it's been such a kind of a rough year, rough stretch there. Kind of got off to a good start, and then I think not missed 9 out of 11 cuts, and it wasn't pretty. And kind of reset in May, changed changed coaches, caddies, new trainer, and just felt like I needed a full reset. And Um, so yeah, been working really hard, and then to go out and finish third to start the fall was a huge bonus and just a huge boost of confidence. And might have a job next year now. We got a little bit
Yeah.
more work to do, but that's the main goal.
I mean, Lanto, I tweeted it out, right? It's like, yes, Scotty and Ben have pressure, right? But it's like there's Cliff Kresge quote used all the time is like pressure when you're trying to win and your job isn't on the line is fun. Of course, there's pressure, but pressure when like your job is on the line is unmatched in golf, right? Like that back nine, I said like there's no one in the tournament that has more pressure than Lanto. Like the PGA Tour, you're just not going to be in contention a bunch of weeks, so you got to take advantage when you're having an 8 week. So like you just have to like just accept that, Lanto. You can't block it out. You're not trying. You're not out there like thinking like, oh, there's no like you're 100% thinking about it, right? It's just
Every second, the whole week. I mean,
yeah,
it's weird. Like even Friday is like I was in really good position, but Friday is kind of like when you're playing well. I think I was 9 under. And it's kind of like this is going to be the most relaxed I'm going to be all week because I know I'm going to make the cut the last 9 holes or whatever. And you want to put yourself in a good position, but you're also kind of gearing up like, Saturday and Sunday are going to be full pressure and the amount of energy it takes from you. That's a really good point though, because, you know, trying to win is hard.
yeah,
So there is pressure, but it's just a different kind of pressure when you know you need to play really well and have a really high finish just to keep your job versus um, just trying to add wins. So not taking anything away from, what Scotty felt on
yeah.
Sunday, but it's kind of like it's hard to explain how much you think about it. It's just constant, kind of a reel in the back of your mind. So the good news is, pressure and nerves, doesn't mean you're going to play good or play bad. I think there's a little connotation there that's like, man, if I'm nervous, I'm not going to be able to perform.
Yeah.
Well, your focus is heightened. Um, you're not going to be asleep at the wheel for sure. And then if once, a lot of people will ask us pro-ams, like, how do you guys get through the first hole? Or how do, you guys must not get nervous because pro-am guys are always nervous on the
Yeah.
first hole. And it's like, no, we feel that.
Yeah.
We're just, we train to kind of, not be used to it, but train how to kind of get through it. So there's the mental energy that like a Sunday took from me. It was just, I was exhausted afterwards, just trying to slow down the mind all day, every shot. Um, but it's pretty gratifying at the end of it, looking back and be like, man, that was really important because you compartmentalize it and you try and downplay it.
Yeah.
So for instance, on the back nine, I wanted to win, but then you see Scheffler at number one, and you're like, third, fourth, fifth would be, still a good week. So you're trying to like compartmentalize trying to win versus having a good week. And luckily at the end of the day, it's all just your mind. It's just all fear kind of coming in, and the golf ball doesn't know that. So as long as you put good swings on it, you can kind of overcome it.
I mean, is there a way to compare like your win and the pressure you felt that and this? Like, is there a way to, or are those just two different animals? And like, where do they? I guess have like take Q school and this week, Lanto, the last one you had. Like when if you were ranking pressure in your career, is this the most you felt around Q school losing your card in this, or is
Yeah.
it impossible to kind of compare the two?
It's weird to say this, but I remember. I mean, I have notes in my phone from almost every week, and I have notes. I remember Sunday in Houston when I won, thinking, like, why am I not more nervous? Because your whole time
Yeah.
growing up, you're like, you think about what it's like to win on the PGA Tour, and I almost was making myself nervous on that Sunday because I wasn't nervous, thinking like holy cow, like this is not what I expected being in contention and winning on tour to feel like. And then fast forward 2 weeks, I went to Bermuda right after I won Houston, opposite field event. I was number one in the FedEx Cup. Um, there was a little reason we were starting a foundation, and there was a Birdies for Love thing in the fall where if you're number one, you get $300,000. So we were like, um, it'd be a really nice way to start a foundation is having
Yeah.
that. So that was one reason why I went to Bermuda. But I remember I was so nervous that week at Bermuda because it was like a new thing for me. I'd never been in the spotlight, and I was number one in the FedEx Cup. I was doing a press conference on Wednesday, and I remember finishing, I want to say 18th, but I bogeyed 18 on Sunday to go from like, if I birdied at a top 10, I was in like 14th. And I was so nervous on that last hole, more nervous than I was the week before
Mhm.
winning or a couple of weeks before. So nerves and pressure are weird. Q school, in a weird way, I'd almost accepted whatever was going to happen was going to happen. And,
Mhm.
and if I had to go back to Corn Ferry Tour, I was okay with it. And, um, but it's weird. It's almost like when I played with Bryson at Bay Hill, and he was hitting it over the water, and
Mhm.
you think you put yourself in these situations, and it's going to be super nerve wracking. And a lot of times, the nerve wracking and the really pressure situations are kind of created in your mind in weeks you don't expect. So I know it's kind of a weird way to answer your question, but I felt a lot of nerves on Sunday at Napa,
Yeah.
and I didn't in Houston when I won.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's almost like it's hard to expect what the nerves feel like.
Yeah.
But it's a week in, week out. I think it depends on the golf course and how you're swinging it. Has a big impact. If you're striping it and you're not missing it left, and you kind of have a one-way miss, it takes a lot of pressure off yourself mentally. Putting well is probably the common denominator between every week I play well. And when you feel like you're going to make every putt and you're making a lot of putts, it takes a lot of heat off yourself. Those 4 or 5 footers are tap-ins, and you're making some 10, 20 footers, and then you're not three putting. You don't need to be perfect. um it's usually the weeks where it's like I'm hitting it, I'm striping it, and I can't make a putt. That's when I get frustrated and nervous. And
Yeah.
and it's weird. It's a fickle game, as we all know, but every week's different when it comes to that.
Let's go back to the injury, Lanto. I mean, like, what has that whole process like? You touch on it a lot in your interviews. You and I have talked about it via text a little bit. It's like, I mean, I assume just a lonely sport becomes way more lonely. You're like in and out. You're not playing consistently. You're waiting for medical. The medical's hanging over your head the whole time. You weren't healthy. Uh, like what? I mean, that has to be just like the unknown of like whether you're
Yeah,
ever going to get healthy and whether you're
yeah,
going to get back to playing like you can.
yeah. Well, one, you're in so much pain. um I talked to a friend yesterday who's going through it, and he's trying to decide if he's going to have surgery. Not a golfer. um and a lot of the memories came back yesterday. I talked to him for 30 minutes just trying to give him some advice, and it's like, yeah, you're in so much pain, you don't really care. You just want to get out of it. So once that happened and I went through surgery, coming back was like, it was kind of two golf careers. It was pre-surgery and post-surgery. Um, there's a bunch of golfers that have had it done, and a lot of them hadn't done a whole lot after their surgery. And I think a little bit of that has to do with just your body feeling different and moving different. It's really hard to change your golf swing. I don't care who you are. Like a Will Zalatoris, I hope he's doing all right. But people are like, well, he's gonna have to change his golf swing. Well, he got to where he was because of his golf swing. So thinking that he can just go and change it
Right.
and be as good as he is not, it's not possible.
Yeah.
Um, so I tried a little bit thinking I needed to change my swing, and then I just got a couple bad habits after coming back from surgery. And it took me a couple years struggling. I guess I was beginning at 23 and now we're in 25. And finally in May, it was kind of like, all right, I need to do something different because what I've been doing isn't working. And I never knew if I was going to feel 100% or not ever again. And in May, I went to a new trainer or my old trainer, Alex Bennett. And it's hard to work out when you're hurt.
Yeah.
So, when your body's sore and everything like that, and your back's always sore, it's hard to think like I'm gonna go get in the gym and do weights. Luckily, I got to the point where it was like I just even beginning of this year, I wasn't consistent day in day out. So I got back in the gym with him in May, and 3 or 4 months later, I don't even think about my back, my body, rarely. So that's been really nice just to feel some kind of consistency how I feel day in, day out. Not that I was in a ton of pain earlier in the
Yeah.
year and last year, but it was just that different. One day I feel loose, one day I feel tight. Um, and it's such a fine line, like how good these guys are on tour. If I was playing at my local club, it wouldn't matter if I shot 66 or 68 or 71 or 70, but that one shot here and there makes, it's difference between keeping your card and not. So I think the things I've done the last 3 or 4 months have been really good. Barracuda, Wyndham, starting to feel some consistency in putting. And that's the thing. Another thing with injuries is wild how much it affected my putting because
Hmm.
my hips and my posture and everything were just a little bit off. And when you're setting up over a 3 4 footer and it breaks a cup, it's like it's hard to explain, but in a weird way, it affected my putting more than anything. And I kind of always relied on that. So um, I'd say the biggest thing since surgery is just trying to find like what my new DNA is, like
Yeah.
how I can be good with the way I feel now. And I think I've done a good job of kind of finding that the last 3 4 months.
When you make changes, Lanto, is that? I mean, it's got to be scary as shit. First of all, like you're towards the end of the season, like
Yeah,
to make these changes, it's going. It's not like, oh, you've said it just earlier. It's like you not go over there and your new coach is like, yeah, we'll just plug this in and you're gonna go tee it up and it's gonna be comfortable. Like that's a process. And what you've done prior to that is like got you this far in your career in some aspects. Like it's got to be scary as shit to be like, whoa, dude, I'm 150th in points. I got 4 fucking months left in the season, and I'm gonna make these changes. But what I'm doing now isn't going to help me in these four
yeah,
months. So I gotta.
yeah. I knew what I was doing wasn't it. There's no way around it. But it's weird, and probably everybody that listens to this is going to be a golfer. When your coach tells you like, when you feel like you're kind of like stacking tilting and you're not getting behind the ball, I mean, you got to feel like you're like laying on the ground to get, this far behind the ball. So that was kind of my deal is I wasn't making a backswing. I was just kind of tilting left and then, not making a shoulder turn, not getting behind it. But you have to exaggerate it so much just to get a little bit. So you look at it on camera and the real versus feel is wild. And so it's really hard for me. I kind of knew in May when the first lesson, it was back with TA was like, we got to get behind the ball so you can get up to it. But playing every week or having 1 week off, I could never really, groove it in and feel like I was comfortable getting out, going out in the tournament setting with it. So after Wyndham, though, it was like, and you kind of your mind plays games with you. Your mind's going to be like, I've played well. I've had some good weeks not doing that, and you try and justify it. But after Wyndham, I was like, look, man, like talking to myself, I was like, you either commit to this these next 4 or 5 weeks and work your ass off and get it to where you can make a backswing, go into Napa, or you're gonna have no chance. Like you can't
Mhm.
compete. You can't compete the way you're hitting it. And fortunately we did, and one thing kind of clicked. It was, I was trying to get behind it kind of artificially, forcing myself. And one day I think we were working, and it was like, what if I got the club head to swing a little bit, like
Mhm.
create a rhythm, and like the club head swings your body, so like everything's kind of married.
Mhm.
Club head swings, the body, gets behind it, turns, and immediately I was kind of like, I think that's it. I think that's the feel. And comparing those swings to pre-surgery when I played really well in 19, it was kind of 18, 19, 20. It looked pretty similar, but it felt so drastic.
Mhm.
Like I remember a lot of those swings from 19, that overall general feel that I had for the whole year. And it was just effortless, just tempo rhythm. But I wasn't thinking about getting behind it, but I was doing it already. So creating a similar move, a similar pattern, but with completely different feels is, once you get it, you kind of you can trust it, but it takes some time, a crazy amount of time and effort.
Lonzo, so like you're a veteran, you know these things, you know that it feels right at home, and what you're doing is right. Like there's a process, like you said, it feels super uncomfortable. Finally, you get it to feel comfortable. You find a thought that like keeps you there. But I assume there's still some like trepidation, some nerves going to Napa, being like, okay, now I have to do this under pressure. Like there's no way to simulate playing a PGA Tour event with a swing change. Like 5 weeks in a swing change is like 30 seconds, basically, right?
Yeah,
So it's like,
yeah,
I assume you're trusted. Like the mental side of it is like, yes, I know I'm doing it right, but there still has to be some nerves of like, is this going to translate to a PGA Tour event?
yeah. I knew it would. I knew it will. Sorry, I know it will translate. It didn't translate last week, honestly. I hit my iron. I hit some irons good, but it was one of the worst driving weeks. Um, in a long time. I hit a lot of two irons last week, but one thing I've done well in my entire career is kind of playing to my strengths. So like I knew I wasn't driving it well last week, so I'm not hitting driver on many holes. Like I knew my irons were good enough. The feel was it's easier, it's easier to trust a 9 iron or a wedge than it is a driver when there's OB right and you know shit left. So I think I did a good job last week of kind of like easing my way into it, and not being too crazy with it. But Thursday last week, I started out 10 footer for par on one easy hole, and it's not a hard hole, and butchered it. Number two, 12 footer for par. I had to get up and down from 80 yards on three for par. So it was like, and I chipped in on
Yeah.
four for birdie. So like,
Yeah.
so I just came off 5 weeks of working my ass off, and I felt really really good about how I'm swinging it. Like the pro-ams, I did a pro-am on Monday and Wednesday, hit it great. And then it was like, holy shit, you're right. Like it's hard to
Yeah.
replicate it in a tournament. But I think making those par putts, and I'm putting really, really well. I putted great at Wyndham, which I've been struggling with all year. Putted really well at Wyndham, and I've been putting great like all these 5 weeks. So that takes a lot of the pressure off because I know I don't need to stripe it. But it was a really rough start Thursday at Napa, and I was able to kind of hang in there. My caddy's done an incredible job. Brian, his name's Brian Branish, but we work really well together, and he's kind of like a cheerleader, buddy, but he's also like real dialed in. Um,
Mhm.
so he can. We play similar games. He played on the PGA Tour one year, so like his game's not that pretty. He just gets it in play,
Yeah.
hits a lot of shots. So I think it takes some. I know he doesn't care how pretty it is. He's a gamer. That's kind of how I've always been. So that's kind of what we did last week, and then the irons were good. But it's crazy how much different your body feels on the driving range than on the first tee of a tour event. Your mind just completely forgets everything you did the last 5 weeks, and it goes back to muscle memory. So the and I kind of knew. I mean, I've done this for a long time, so I've made swing changes, so I knew it was going to be like that. It didn't catch me by
Yeah.
surprise. But the work I did the last 5 weeks, a little bit of it did come in. It wasn't perfect last week, but so that I was super excited with the shots on 18 on Sunday. It's hard to explain what your body feels like when you're coming down the stretch on Sunday. It just feels different. I think I would probably compare it to member guests in a shootout.
Mhm.
Um, but it's everything wants to go faster. Everything a little jittery, but in a good way. You're focused. So leaving the 71st hole, I really hadn't hit a good drive. Maybe one or two good drivers all week. And 18's it's a tough driving hole for me. Wind in off the left, and Brian was like, just give me full focus on this, give me two or three more shots, just give me full focus. And I bet I hit that driver 30 yards further than any other driver I hit all week. Because
Mhm.
I actually hit the middle of the face. So and then I hit a really good 2 iron. Got a little bit unlucky, but I got so many breaks. We weren't complaining. It landed near the hole and went long. Um, but those two shots, going into Sanderson, going into this 2 week break, you know, I'm looking back on that hole and be like, if I can hit that driver and that 2 iron, when I really needed to, that's like, I know this swing is going to hold up. I just have to commit to it and kind of trust it. So that it was in a weird way that one last hole was even though I made par, um, and I didn't give myself a chance to tie Scotty, it gave me a lot of confidence.
I assume that's part of the process of coming back. Swing changes, struggling, whatever that is like you got to have an encyclopedia in your head of shots that you've hit under pressure in that situation with these swing changes. So are those shots ones that you can go back to now and go like, hey, like my ass was on the line, my job was on the line, and I hit two great shots, like at the Sanderson or whatever. Like
Yeah.
a year from now, are those shots that you're like, okay, I can. This is like we're on the right path.
No, for sure. So like, for instance, on you kind of you learn how you're swinging it in the tournament. So like I can hit it, I can stripe it on the range all day for 3 or 4 weeks like I did and felt super confident. But until you go in a tournament, for instance, I wasn't working on feeling like the backswing was inside at all in the last 3 or 4 weeks because it was kind of naturally doing that. Well, I got kind of quick the first couple days, and I was like, I'm way over the top with a driver, so I'm like, in the tournament, I'm gonna need to feel like the club head's coming more inside, just so it can be more on plane. So it's probably not more inside than it was on the range. It was just my tendency was to get quick and lifty in the takeaway. So your swing feels change. And on Sunday, I was like, dude, I can't hit another 50-yard block cut. So I was exaggerating it way inside, way hingy, or way like club head swinging, getting behind it. And I would guess if I looked at those swings, it would look very similar to what it did 3 or 4 weeks before Napa. So
Mhm.
that Sunday swing was like way inside and then get up to it and cover the hell out of it. And it went dead straight with a little cut right out of the middle. So that was a swing feel that like I literally hadn't worked on for 3 weeks, but I put it in on Sunday because it was kind of like, you're adjusting to what you're doing naturally or under the gun. So, and you can't get that feel on the range or playing with your buddies. For us, it's
Yeah.
like you learn swing feels under the gun, unfortunately, because that's the only time you're gonna feel that way. So going forward, if I start feeling that like a little bit over the top, not making the backswing, I'll just be like, you know what, 18 at Napa on Sunday, like, it works. So it's that's one of the cool things about golf, especially tournament golf, is you really learn. That's like Tiger always said.
Mhm.
He's like, I'm playing great at home, and I'm just waiting for it to translate. Well, that's what he's doing in tournaments. Is trying to find his tournament feels that give him the swing that he's doing at home because they're not going to be the same feel.
I don't like the injury leading up to last week. Like I assume there has to be times that you're like, I'm not sure I'm ever coming back. Is that any of your thought uh, at the end of Sunday? Is like, man, there was times in the last 2 years that like I wasn't sure, and even 3 months ago, you make those changes and they don't work. I assume you're like, man, I don't really know where to turn, right? Like,
Yeah,
so like on a bigger picture, I assume it's just like huge amount of fucking relief that like, hey, I can still do this. As much as you believe that, at some point you have to have some results to back
yeah,
that up.
yeah. I felt that in. Yeah, it's not like, I want to be real clear. It's not like I finished third at Napa and
Yeah.
then now all of a sudden I'm in every major and my car's
Right.
locked up.
Right.
Like
Right.
my car's not locked up,
Yeah.
but
Right.
I'm gonna have some sort of status for next year. Which going into Truckee or Barracuda, it was like I was so far down, like I was so far out of it. I was just trying to find some kind of mojo. Um, but yeah, no, those thoughts creeped in constantly. And
Mhm.
I love the grind. Like tournaments are a lot of anxiety. Tournament golf is stressful but what I really love about golf is trying to figure it out and kind of the journey. Like traveling at my age, we've been doing it for so long that traveling is exhausting, being gone away from home and, the airports and hotels. But the thing that I still love about golf is just trying to find it and going to the range and hitting shots and trying to like kind of be a, I don't know, engineer, architect, whatever it may be. But um, so it's kind of a love-hate relationship with the game once you get to our level. So my work ethic's still there. I still want it. And winning Q School last year was just like a miracle. I mean, honestly, there's no other way to say it. It was, I putted my ass off for 4 days. It was incredible. I probably putted 15 to 16 strokes, probably 4 strokes better per round than the year average. And I ended up winning and getting your card back. And then I went to Amex and I had a solid week and I almost won Torrey. I shot 40 or 41 on the back nine and finished ninth. It's like if I shoot one or two under on the back nine, granted it's a really hard 9 holes, Torrey Pines, but like I could have won Torrey and it was like, and then it didn't happen. I finished ninth, which is still a good week, but then I just went on an absolute, I shit the bed for 4 months.
Yeah.
So it was like I won Q School, I almost win Torrey, and it's like, all right, man, I'm back, and then I fell off the train.
Yeah.
That was hard to handle because the conversation we're having right now is kind of how I felt after Farmers, and so I'm very aware of that now. It's not like I'm sitting over here celebrating and just partying. But last week was really, really, really a positive. Like, just it felt really good after the year that I've had working really hard. It's just fun playing good golf. It's miserable just never seeing the ball go where you want it to go,
Mhm.
and then seeing all these other guys. Because you know how it is. Everybody's so good.
Yeah.
Um, so going forward, though, I kind of knew things weren't right at Torrey and at Q School. I kind of felt like I got lucky. Um, and now it feels like the change that I've made since May, I feel like I have a foundation in place. Like I took Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off. I went out and practiced today, and it was like, even though my swing wasn't perfect last week, now I have all that feedback from Napa, and I finished third, which is still crazy to me the way that I hit it. Um, but I'm like, now like I can put all that information in the system and I can get better because I'm not changing anything. It's just tweaking like little small tweaks. So I get behind to get through it, keep my levels. Um, so who knows what will happen in the future? Obviously, I don't know. Nobody knows, but I feel confident that I could go on a couple year run, um, meaning keeping my job.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, not saying a couple year run of winning, going to go win every tournament, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's Scotty Scheffler set a unreal expectation of golf. Like what he's doing right now is it's absurd. Um,
Ridiculous.
it's insane. It's pretty cool to watch. And he's such a good dude. I told his wife, like I did an interview Sunday after the round and I went over to her and I was like, hey, like I love Scotty and you guys are great, but I kind of wish you guys weren't here. And she said,
Of all, like,
yeah,
they're only there because of the
yeah,
Ryder Cup. Like,
I
can you
know.
guys just pick a different fucking week to
Yeah.
do this,
Could you
please?
just no? And she laughed. She's great. The great family. Scotty's awesome. But obviously we laughed about it. It was a joke. But um, yeah, everybody's got their own little journey. And
I mean, to that point about like the third, I mean, I say this all the time about the other end. Lanto is like, you'll see guys who are missing cuts by 4 and 5, and that might mean that you're really close. And there might be guys missing by 1 who aren't close at all.
yeah,
Like it. So that is some of the confidence I can tell you have. I assume is like this is like you guys are good enough that even when you were struggling, if things were right, you could finish third for that
yeah,
week. But you're not going like, oh, this third, and I know I'm on the right path. This is different, right? That's the confidence I can feel. Is like, yes, I finished third, but I finished third for the right reasons, and I'm on the right path.
yeah. You're not. You'd obviously rather take a third over a 20th any day of
Yeah,
the week, but you're not going to judge like where you're at in your game solely based on how you finished. So, like I finished 23rd at Wyndham. If you had told me I was going to finish 23rd on Wednesday, I would have had a heart. I never would have believed you. It would have been like I didn't even want to play Wyndham because I
Yeah.
was hitting it so bad. Like it just my swing felt terrible and but that kind of woke me up. And I have a sports psychologist, and it was kind of like, look, like a good week this week's gonna be 30th. Like give me
Mhm.
a 30th. See if you can do that and focus and like just give every single shot and know you don't have your best. Don't be surprised. Like if you had a bad shot, don't be surprised. And I finished 23rd, and it was like I left that week. I felt like I won.
Mhm.
I probably felt better after Wyndham finishing 23rd than I did at Napa, but it was like kind of building into having some success. So going into the rest of the fall is going to be kind of marrying that mental mindset, being really strong,
Yeah.
and the stuff I learned from Napa with this new swing that I'm super excited about, but also not getting complacent. Like I've always felt like complacency is a killer. When I start playing well, the last thing I want to do is start celebrating and getting complacent. It's like playing well has always given me more motivation to work harder and really, dial down. And I've done that in my fabulous career of being a journeyman. But I've always kind of tended to go on little streaks because when I get a little taste of success, it kind of motivates me to, keep going. Because I know you're going to have a bad stretch. And
Yeah.
we were joking actually today in the gym. We were joking that like a bad week for Scotty's like fifth.
Yeah.
But like
Right. Right.
when I finished third
Yeah.
at Napa, that's like Scotty winning CJ Cup by 12
Yeah.
or winning a major
Yeah.
by 6. So
Right.
it's like that's it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't, but it's reality. So when you see Scotty finish 8th, that's like him that's like me missing a cut by 5.
I know there's a long way to go. This is the last question, and I appreciate your time, man, and the insight. Uh, I don't want to get into signature events. I know you have a lot of opinions, and I appreciate them very much. But this is such great insight. But I do want to handle it from the standpoint of there is no harder year in the history of the PGA Tour to keep your card. It's full field events with less cards. So they'll leading up to now, there's never been a year like this because it's always been 125 cards with full fields or some version of that. And now it's 100 cards, but we're still at the 125 card level. So, like, do you think about that? Like, how difficult, like,
Yeah.
finishing 125th is hard enough. Now we're trying to
Yeah.
finish in a,
It'd be great right now because I'd historically I'd have enough points right now to be
yeah,
completely locked for every year the FedEx Cup's ever existed. Um, but you start the year, you know what you have to do is top 100. So your mind's already, it's like when you have like a 4-hour drive and it seems like it's forever. Well, if you have a 16-hour drive and you drive 4 hours, you're not thinking about like, I could be there by now. It's a weird analogy, but when you know the bar set here the whole year, it's not like you can't really make the excuse that well I
yeah,
would have kept my card last year. So I haven't used that in my mind at all. My mind's been top 100 the whole year, and even now the the good thing about this, I completely disagree with making the tour smaller. I've been very outspoken um, to a probably to a fault. It probably impacted me the last 2 years. This year, I got voted on the pack. I didn't want to go through the same frustration as I did last year, kind of knowing that the decisions are made and it's just a formality.
yeah,
So I decided to kind of just no social media. I don't get on the tour app. I don't do anything. I wanted this year. I wanted to play golf, and I got a family. So I've really tried this year to shut my mind off of all the politics. And you still hear it. You still hear guys talking about it. I'm still passionate about it, but I know I'm not going to change it. So going into next year, um, there are things with the changes that I do agree on. 156 player fields are tough.
mhm,
If you tee off first in Detroit at 6:45 a.m., you play in 2 hours and 5 minutes, and then you're waiting 15 minutes of the turn or 10
yeah,
minutes of the turn, and then the whole back nine is just really slow. So I get that. I get some of the stuff, but going to a top 100 is just crazy to me. there's so many good players, and there's so many guys that are at the top and that are making some of these decisions right now, that if the rules were 5, 6 years ago, or even a couple years ago, they'd be in trouble because they would have lost their job.
I use this tweet. Uh, I use this stat a lot. At one point, it's changed because I did this like a year ago when all these changes were made. But at one point last year, 15 of the top 50 players in the world had got to the PGA Tour in a way that will be gone or altered in 2026, right? And again, like, you don't have to say it. I'll say it. My struggle is not the Patrick Cantlays of the world. That obviously I wish he would see bigger picture. It's guys that have been to Q school 5 times or Monday qualified and changed their career that are pulling the ladder up behind them. That's my struggle. It's
and there's some guys that are pushing it that, I think it's impacted, that have had rough years this year and last year, that have been huge, like part of that Delaware group, Delaware Gate group, that some of those guys, they kind of felt like they've made it, and they're at the very top, and then all of a sudden you start making changes, and it's golf, it's hard. And the other thing I would say is, like, when you're in that situation, it's really hard to think how it is of a journeyman or the kid coming up that's going to not going to be able to do Monday qualifiers, or there's going to be less cards. It's hard to put yourself in their shoes. You kind of have to, it's human nature. That being said, the thing I think I have the most issue with is this opposite field event, regular events, signature events, majors. It's like, I've had so many friends reach out to me this fall, be like, so, like, what's the fall? And they follow me every week. They're like, is this like the new season, or like,
used to be the new season. Now it's just keep your card. I mean, again, like next year, if you're not in the signature events, from the Masters to the PGA, you're going to play 1 week. Like,
I bet I had 8 to 10 people text me after Napa telling me congratulations on keeping your card for next year, because they kept saying that I was top 100. I was 100th, and it's like, I'm like, dude, there's 6 more tournaments left. But like, that's how, like, even buddies that, like, college teammates that follow me every week, they don't know how the tour works. So that's the frustrating part, is like, when we don't even know, like, when a lot of the players are kind of confused on how it works. I spent there and spent like an hour, 2 hours the other night trying to figure out, like, if I were to finish 120 or 110, like, how many starts am I going to get? There's just so many categories, and that's part of the deal with golf. Like, golf's different. Like, we get that, but my prayer with Brian coming in as a CEO is, NFL is incredible in the fact that every single game matters. That, like, everything is streamlined. Like, the NFL is incredible to me. I'm a huge fan of the NFL, and it's so simple for the fans. They get it. Like, we all know what it takes to be a divisional champ, first round bye, and if we can get golf to be easy for the fans, easy for the players, in a sense of like how it works, every event should just be the exact same. Like, if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, you shouldn't get 2 wins for beating Kansas City. When, like, Tampa Bay's playing Atlanta, they only get 1 win. Like, that's doesn't make sense. Like, just keep it meritocracy, keep it, streamlined. So I'm hoping that's in 28, 29, 30, when the new TV rights deal, like, the tour is going to change way more. Like, this is just the start of it. I'm just hoping we get to the point where, whether it helps the little guy, the journeyman, or if his top player is centric, I just hope that, and there's always going to be the journeymans. Like, the tour is not going to exist with 30, 40 guys. Like, there's always going to be guys that are kind of in the back of the pack. They're obviously still really good players, but just give us an idea of, don't complicate it so much. So that's going to happen. I think it's in the works now. It's just going to take a couple years to kind of get out of this whole live fiasco. That, I mean, we also got to give credit where credit's due. It's hard to have a tour like Live, throw all that money out, take all the best players, and then all of a sudden get it right away. So a little bit of grace there, even though I don't agree with the changes.
Yeah. Right. I this could be a whole separate pod. I definitely agree with some changes. Understand you have a competitor, but to just completely change is a wild thing to me. But Yeah, I appreciate it so much. You and I have had a few conversations, throughout the years, and your story's great. We didn't even get into that. And man, this is what this account is for, is to cover events like this. I say all the time is like the life-changing things happen down a PGA Tour leaderboard at 90% of events more than the 10% at the top. Like the Procure, I mean, the joke is like, does Scotty have to go back there next year? Now
Yeah.
it's like he doesn't want
Yeah.
to go there. And
No,
like,
yeah. No, that being said, Napa's like the most beautiful place on
yeah,
earth.
it's a great tournament. I'm not trying to say it's bad.
No,
Like he
no.
wouldn't be playing if it wasn't for the Ryder Cup. And so like your third is way more life changing. Like
Oh yeah,
he'll never
hands down.
remember that. Yeah.
But
So
if his wife had a great time,
yeah,
he might
that's
be
true.
he might be fending for a like a vacation. But no, this is actually, I was laughing today. We've been texting back and forth for probably the last couple of years, and I didn't know what you looked like. So
No,
it's
yeah,
good.
that's it. That's
Good.
it.
It's not as good as I thought it would look, but we're both new dads, so it's kind of hard.
Yeah, dude. My kids are running around basketball. Shit, it's like
Yeah, at least this morning when I told you I was very homeless looking, I had
yeah,
I just got out of the sauna. I had I didn't know how much white I had in my beard until I saw
yeah,
pictures
yeah,
of my interview. I'm like,
yeah.
holy shit, like, dude, you look 50.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I
currently we're working on our house. I'm like wearing painter pants right now and threw on my Dunning shirt because they're a sponsor. Like I'm like a mess right now.
well,
So
Dunning appreciates that.
yeah,
But no, it's great to obviously you do a lot for the little guys in the golf
thanks,
world,
man. I
and
appreciate
everybody
it.
appreciates it. And you've built a nice little fair I mean, you've always been super fair to everybody. So we
Thanks, man.
appreciate
I,
as players, we appreciate how you report on golf, and always here to help.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the time, and let's get a win in the fall. Might as well.
This was 49ers or golf.
Yeah, 49ers too. Sure.
Dude,
Yeah.
this is my big purchase at the Sacramento airport going
Oh
to a
yeah.
red eye home. Yeah, this
Yeah.
was 60. Like, you think waters are expensive at airports?
Six,
Like, I've been yeah, this is a $60 hat, but I was like, shit, I finished third this week. I'm
yeah,
splurging.
third. Like what's
Okay.
your I should have started with what's your big purchase after a
This is
nice
it.
third
This is
is
it.
the hat.
Yeah,
Is another-
two bottles of water and a hat was like $100. And I'm like, I told my wife, I was like, this is dad. I mean, this is like you
This
get
is
older
it.
and you have a good week. Like, this is splurging right here, getting a
Yeah,
nice
this
hat.
is it. Yeah.
Um, but no, anyways, appreciate you having me on, man.
Thanks, man.
For sure.
Thanks for the time.
You got it.
Dude,